into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Well, hello, everybody. And hello, children of the belt. Ooh, what is this? Are we coming in David Bowie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You're like, I'm distracted.
Yeah, I can't say.
I need a second.
I can't say my intro. Oh, yeah. All right. I don't think I've heard that Bowie song. Awesome.
Haven't you seen Labyrinth?
I haven't seen Labyrinth, actually. I'm terrible. I know. I'm a terrible man.
It's Muppets and
everything.
David Bowie.
I know. I need to watch it.
It's Jim Henson meets David Bowie.
I have to watch
Well,
it
not
now.
the Muppets, so yeah.
Yeah, in remembrance of
Yes.
Bowie.
Yes.
I must watch it.
Legend is gone.
Well, everybody, welcome to the AfterBuzz TV after show for your favorite show, The Expanse, and we're on season 1, episode 6, Rock Bottom. I am your host, Sean Overman, and you guys can find me at Sean Austin O on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm joined here by my two lovely co-hosts as usual.
Hi, my name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D. Lane and on Facebook at Kari Lane Actor.
And I'm Maria Cavassuto, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MGCVSST.
Ooh, a little smoky on the voice
I know.
there.
I was gonna say.
It felt good.
She's like, oh, after her hiccup, I got this.
Yes, I got this.
Oh, you got a haircut.
What?
Did you get a haircut? Is that what you said?
No, I said
After her
hiccup.
Oh, hiccup.
She was like, Carrie.
Because I was like, I
Oh,
can't
it's like-
talk.
Can't talk. So
She did a while ago.
smoky
I guess.
voice to match the alcohol that they were drinking at the bar in the episode tonight.
I was very inspired. Something barsy about my intro.
There we go. Wait, where are our shots? That's what we should be
Yeah, I
doing.
know. We should be doing shots to commemorate them
Yes.
getting off the Tachi and dubbing it the Rocinante.
Yes.
But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the episode because we have
Yeah.
a bit to talk about. Thankfully, we're only doing one episode tonight. And let's talk about Holden. Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em.
I'm mixing up Alex
They're
and Holden
holding 'em
together.
on Holden?
So
Yeah.
Holden. So he has, right when they get to Tycho Station, they have a face-off with Johnson right away, the butcher of the Anderson station,
Oh, yeah.
right? I thought it was kind of interesting right before they get to the station and dock, Alex hands over control to Tycho Station. They have really cool technology in the future. So he hands over control, so Tycho Station takes control, obviously, so that they can better dock the ship. And we have, like, the big shake, like, when they get in there.
The big shake.
The big shake, like...
It's such a cowboy standoff, too. When they're standing there, it's like they're ready to draw their pistols and, like, shoot them up.
Yeah.
They're just waiting.
It's like a Mexican standoff. It's great. I love it. But they have that stalemate going on for a little bit. I thought it was kind of interesting because I've been reading the book now, and looking at their guns gives me a different perspective now because I don't think their guns have lead in them, because where do you get lead, in space? Like,
good point.
And it's like such a precious thing to have any kind of metals, right? So I'm thinking that their bullets, and we noticed in the gunfight scene like 2 episodes ago with the Martians and whoever that other faction is with the blue helmets, it sounded funny, right? Like the guns kind of sound like pew, pew, pew. They sound like a little bit like somewhere between bullets and lasers. So I'm thinking that they're plastic bullets in the guns.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. No thoughts on that?
Sure. I mean, they still do a lot of damage, but a hard plastic would probably do just as much as, like, lead almost.
Yeah, and they probably don't have any
Or
kind
they're
of combustion.
Yeah, and they're just more fragile anyways.
Yeah.
Like, their bones would be a lot easier to shoot through.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the belters
Yeah.
are definitely more fragile.
Now that you say that, that's actually a very good point. I think that makes sense now.
And it's probably more compressed air that they use to shoot the
Oh,
bullets,
yeah, sure.
as opposed to an explosion, like, within the gun chamber.
I think that just wouldn't really work in outer space.
No, it wouldn't. It would probably, like cause more of the oxygen to be like destroyed within their ships or whatever.
Guns are a no-no in space. Like real guns would be no-no.
Yeah. You would definitely you would puncture the hull, right? So plastic probably wouldn't puncture the hull.
But it would puncture a human being.
But it would puncture a human being. And, but something would puncture the whole of Tycho Station, and that's that huge rail gun, or whatever kind of gun that's on the side, a minigun it looks like, on the side of the Rocinante, pointed at the man outside from Tycho Station.
We have a problem, here.
Yeah, and
I was like, your face is about to get blown off. Like, seriously, that's very intimidating.
That's how they get over the whole stalemate. But I love the conversation that goes on between Johnson and Holden, and it shows what kind of a strategic mind that Johnson has. Because he was a UN colonel, butchered a station. He's probably had a buttload of experience before that. He recognized Holden, and he said, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me! You are the luckiest dipshit in the universe." Yeah, and
his face is everywhere. It's all like they knew he'd be recognized.
Yeah, they say he's the poster child for this movement now, for the Canterbury being blown up in the Scopuli, the whole incident. But we also have Johnson, who's saying like, "Hey, I brokered peace treaties, whatever. So I did my time before." And he's like, "Yeah, but that's not what you're known for. You're known for butchering millions of people or thousands."
That was a burn.
Yeah.
But it's like, what can you say to that? I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah, it's totally true. But I'm sure, maybe in a decade he may have changed things up. Obviously, he's well known now well known enough to be some guy who's building a huge ship for the Mormons.
He's in charge.
Right? He's building the Nauvoo. But that also gives him access to a lot of resources, which we don't know if he's using that for any other purposes.
Yes.
Which I think he is. I think he has his own agenda.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that.
We are going to get into that.
I don't know what it is, but I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah. No, you know what? All right, well, let's get into it. So what do you guys think Johnson is doing? Because we do see later in the episode, he accesses Lieutenant Lopez's freeze bag.
Yep.
And he takes out a data stick. Is that the same data stick or data card that he was given by Captain Yao of the Donager?
I think so. And I love that he went right to it, too. How did he know it was there?
That's a really good point. Do all Martian Navy guys carry that on them there? Like a data stick there?
Yeah, and would Johnson just search every dead body? He specifically went to the body, specifically opened it, specifically took it out. So
he did. He
knew something was going on.
Yeah, he knew. Maybe there's a spot. Maybe Lopez was a spy for the Martians working with the OPA. Man, this is just such like a tangled web of deceit, and we don't know what's really happening yet.
Yes. I think just like Johnson has, like I said, his own agenda, and I feel like, I don't know if it's as Holden, it's like, would I be able to trust him, and to do his work? I just don't think so. And just seeing what we saw about him pulling out that memory card, I feel like that information in the wrong hands could just be completely destructive to the Martians. And I mean, Johnson isn't a Martian.
No, he's not.
No. And he wants to get on the Security Council.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
Which is not necessarily open to him because maybe of his past and whatnot. So I'm thinking like, there's something fishy going on here. Either he wants to sequester some sort of control or like just get some sort of, I guess, massive participation that can kind of shift and turn the tables a little bit.
Maybe have more of a dialogue with the Martians and the UN Council.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if like a dialogue, maybe just like a one-sided, like more, control-y type deal.
More like dictate the conversation where it's going to go.
Yes.
Because
he just seems
he
very
seems
powerful.
like that kind of guy too.
He literally was like in the previous episodes, I think, telling the Mormon what was he like
representative,
like a representative. Yeah, he kind of told him like, well, you wouldn't want this, you wouldn't want, and all these things, and kind of like laying down the law. So I feel like that's the type of guy he is. So I wouldn't necessarily put it past him.
I feel like he knows when to give the sweetness and when to give the peppery stuff, because at the beginning
he's very smart. That's a good way to describe it.
He's a savory individual.
Yes,
he is a good planner. He's intelligent and he knows what he's doing.
He knew when he sent that message to the Tachi, formerly what we called the Rocinante, that it was a very nicely worded message. It was like sweet enough to get them to fly over, right? Yeah. And when he gets them there, now he's all force. He's trying to threaten them and scare them. Thankfully, we had 2 extra people on the Rocinante manning the guns.
Yeah. Which I don't think Johnson was expecting, even though he kind of hinted at it. He's like, there's either just 2 of you or maybe like 2 others, but definitely not 30, which is what the Tachi could have,
the Tachi could have had. Right. Because it's a Corvette class.
Yeah.
I like that description.
Yeah, I like that he talks about. But the fact is, like, if the Martians had shown up, he said that it would cause a lot of bring them a lot of negative attention, right?
Yes, because they would probably take over Tycho Station and maybe tear the place apart, or
realize what he's really doing, like gonna take that ship.
Or the fact that there are no Martians there.
Yeah, there aren't any. I didn't see any Martians at all, but where they're going, they're probably gonna be seeing Martians.
Well, they said that. They're like, you're gonna encounter this many people. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's all I have for you guys.
Yeah.
But good luck.
It's not too bad. It's only 2 patrol instead of 50 or whatever.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we see them retrofitting right away, the Rocinante, and they're trying to make it into like a gas finding ship. So something that collects gas so that they can use it maybe at series and distribute it everywhere else throughout the system. But we also have another conversation later on with Johnson and Holden where they get down to business of what Johnson really wants, and he says, I want you to find somebody for me. And that person is named Lionel Polanski?
I think, Lionel Polanski.
Someone with an L, Polanski.
Yeah.
Right?
Lionel,
I think it's Lionel. Yeah.
So and he even says it's a code name. So we don't know exactly who
who's
it
that a
is.
code name for? Someone had a really good prediction.
You want to do an early prediction?
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, they talk about the scopuli, so I was just like, well, I think that's just code for, like, Julie Mao, and they're talking about him, right? So then I was like, wait a minute. But, I feel like if the person on the receiving end knows that that's their code name, it's like it's going to spark up some attention. And I think that's Julie Mao.
I think it's a good guess. Actually, that's the same kind of moment when, totally blanket. What's the cop's name?
Miller. Yeah.
Miller, thank you. When Miller's talking to his chief, the chief, he says when he holds the cards or something, and I had a moment. I'm like, how do you know the person behind things is a he?
Yeah.
It's another example of like just because somebody's involved, you don't necessarily know male or female, and assuming one, you could probably. You'd be limiting your search if you think, it's just this guy. Well, what if it's the girl?
Men are just the evil people in the universe.
Apparently, that's their first side. Like, it's the guy.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. There's pretty evil ladies on the show, though, too.
There's a few. A few, like some of the OPA terrorists we got to see. But I think it makes it better when they keep saying he, and it turns out to be a woman.
Surprise!
Yeah.
In your face, viewers. But so we get to see our crew, the Rocinante crew, over at Tycho Station, and they're doing their own thing. People are off, like going to the bars or
the club.
The club, yes. So we get to see Amos in the club, and Alex as well. We learn a little bit more about them, and everything's very subtle, and we get a few reveals about their background. So Amos sees a guy like checking him out, right? So the guy comes on over and he starts to hit on him.
Propositions him.
He propositions him, and right away Amos turns him down, but he's like, hey, wait a second, and he like pulls him, and he goes, hey, be careful with that dude that, what does he call him, a bugger over there or something?
The guy that's ogling you or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that. And he's like, he's got a knife and,
Be careful.
So I thought that Amos is probably a pimp.
He could have been a pimp before.
Yeah.
Or he could have been a male prostitute.
On either end, but he understands that kind of business.
Yeah. So, and he says...
Well, wait, he said he grew up there. So did he have a parent who was his father one, maybe, or something?
He grew up in places like this.
Yeah.
He didn't say exactly Tycho Station, but so maybe like on... Because he's an earther.
Because that doesn't necessarily mean he did the, like, prostitution. He could have lived with those people.
Yeah.
Or the pimping.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah.
It very well could have been.
Yeah. I mean, but he understands the side... how it works.
Sure. But I like his phrase too, and this applies to like regular life of you can tell a lot about a people by how they treat a certain group.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and then Alex has, after that exchange with the male prostitute, Alex has like a little, and he hears that from Amos. He has a little bit of a, I don't know, I guess he wanted to mean it as a compliment, but then it ended up being like kind of weird and offensive to Amos. He said, well, you must have been as happy as a puppy with 2 peckers. And then Amos was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I think us, the audience, were like, what the heck is he talking about? Do you guys know what he was saying?
Well, even though he's hitting, he has a thing, he seems to have a thing for a woman with their group. potentially maybe he's implying that he was gay, and so in being in an environment like that, there's plenty of men to choose from.
Okay.
So maybe he was that excited that he was getting action all the time. Was my guess of like or he's bi.
Yeah.
You know, and he was just screwing around all the time.
Yeah.
And that was my guess.
I think that's actually a good point. Like, I could see the
He worked in a pleasurable environment, so he probably worked there more ways than one.
Yes, I'm sure he did. Yeah.
Although, you know, for me, he's like Naomi's his true like thing.
Well, is now.
No, I know.
No, I meant before.
Yeah. No, I mean now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why also like maybe he's just not in. But I would imagine like really not interested. You know, if he was or something.
You know, we didn't get that much interaction between I want to call him Wes, between Amos and Naomi this episode. They only had like one exchange.
But they were
really.
pretty big exchanges, though.
How did you not tell me?
Yeah.
Like you knew or whatever.
That's when we had the big reveal. They were on the ship, and we had we had Holden say, "Hey, I'm the one who logged the distress call of the Scopuli with the cant, and that's why we're in this mess." Which was crazy because even though Amos didn't say anything, the expression on his face was just like, I'm gonna kill you.
What?
Yeah, we lost our crewmates, our whole ship, our livelihood because of you, and we've almost gotten killed several times.
But I think his disappointment in that sense kind of turns over to Naomi when she's just like, I knew about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then
it
it's
escalates
like,
even more.
Yeah, and then it's like, wait a minute, whoa. So I feel like it changes from like to Holden, like, I'm gonna kill you, to Naomi being like, how could you not tell me? You know?
Yeah.
And his blow up's pretty small. Like, he didn't make a huge fuss. And then
Not
I kind of
this
felt
time,
like
no.
Alex was like, I would have been okay, but you should have told me.
Yeah.
He's more hurt of like, you didn't tell me.
Yeah. He was shaking his head in the background, but he wasn't as furious looking as Amos was. And then Amos, his disappointment with Naomi was like, what? Boss? Really? You didn't tell me?
Oh, he was hurt.
He has so much respect for
His
her.
little puppy heart
lover.
broke right there.
They did hold hands when they almost died on the Donager.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know.
I don't know. When she was out with Holden, though,
Yeah.
they were bonding that I feel she likes Holden, but then Amos likes her.
Yes.
That's
And
possible.
it's one way this way, and she's not...
Yeah.
Like, she likes him and she respects him, but she's not romantically interested.
She's okay.
At least not yet.
She's okay to die holding his hand, but she's not okay to make love to him, like with Holden.
Maybe if it's the last thing she could do, she's like, oh, I'm stuck in a room with you. You're the only one. You. Okay.
Okay, I can see that.
Maybe when she would give him time of day.
I think there's something between them, but I think like I was telling both Sean and Kari, I was just like, I really want something physical to happen between them.
Yeah.
The tension for me is too much.
There's too much stuff going on in the show. We haven't gotten a break in the very beginning.
Ever since the flying sex scene, the no gravity sex scene, I'm just like, where are you know? But I feel like we're having little glimpses of it. And
That's
we'll
true.
talk
There
about
hasn't been a whole lot of action
But
on the
we'll
show
talk
besides
about
that part.
What
In that
almost
type of
happened
action.
here.
You know, that's what I think the show is doing good, is that it makes us want that, and then they just keep like taking it away, you know?
They're teasing us.
Well, they set the bar so high with that, like,
Yeah.
you know, with Holden's anti-gravity sex scene that I'm just like, what, you know? Where's the rest of it?
We gotta have it again.
Yeah.
At some point. So maybe Naomi and Holden might get it down, get on, you know, up in the zero G-ness later on. But we do have Naomi and Holden doing drinks to Shed, cheersing to him, saying that somewhere, hopefully they don't need medical attention in space heaven.
Poor guy.
Wow, he really was that bad, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he was all they had, but, like, it wasn't good.
But you know what's funny is that in the book, actually, he seems like he's a really legit medic.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting they changed that.
Yes, yeah, he's actually, and I'll talk about it, you know, some other point, but it shows him using like really cool technology and like kind of like homeopathic stuff when he's on the cant.
Okay.
So he doesn't seem like this like squirrely kind of guy, but maybe later, because I'm not, you know, that far into the book yet, but maybe later on that's where this kind of character stuff emerges.
Right.
Or they just changed it because they needed that kind of character for television or something.
Yeah, he's a little bit
could
of like a comic relief at first until his head
And then
gets
he's a
blown off.
tragedy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. But we did love him when he helped with the oxygen thing.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
whole hypoxia.
He was smart.
Yes, that was pretty
And
intense.
brave.
Yeah. We got to learn one more thing about Alex when he was talking to Amos at the bar, is that his wife is dead.
Yep.
Right? Because he said, I was married. And that's another thing that Amos revealed about himself, too.
Does that really mean that she's dead?
No, I think he did say she died, right? Didn't she? Didn't
The
he
way
say that?
he keeps their photograph, the wife and the
It
child,
makes
I want to
you
go
think
with
that
they
they're-
died.
Okay.
Both of them died. Okay.
Yeah,
I could
wanna
see
think
that
that.
happening.
Because,
Okay.
yeah, just the way he treasures that photo is not, we got divorced, she left. That feels like I lost these
Yeah,
people.
no, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Kari. Always coming to the rescue when I'm doubting stuff.
So then back
You're
to
welcome.
back to Naomi and Holden. They do another cheers to the Martians who perished, saving their lives. And
It's funny how something like, and even Fred Johnson was like, they did that. They actually worked to get you off of the ship. Like, that's like something maybe that they're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
They're
whatever.
stereotyping Martians.
Yeah, but I mean, any kind of, just not resentment, but any kind of like ill attitude or ill feelings towards the Martians, it's kind of like that's been wiped away. So that's kind of an interesting thing, how these barriers start breaking down just by not these simple things, but these really important things that happen, and how I guess everybody's willing to put their own like prejudice and whatnot on hold because of this cause, and because of getting a straight message across instead of having just the world implode on them.
they're putting aside their planetism
Yes.
so that they can start building this alliance to fight whoever this unknown enemy is.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
it's
is
the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
yes, that's a very good one. I like that. We do see a dude at the bar who's taking pictures with his eyes.
Eyeball. Yeah. So he's a cyborg then? He has
Talk
a
about
mechanical
like
part?
violation of not like privacy, but kind of.
Creeper.
Their moment. Yeah, creeper in the background. He's like taking shots of them and he's uplinking it somewhere. And we don't know where he's sending it to. We have an idea in the teaser later on, but at this
Yes.
point when I watched it, I was like, what the heck is this guy doing?
But even like when they were talking, Avasarala.
Avasarala,
Yeah, that's Avasarala was saying about using the spy on Tycho Station.
Let's actually start talking about it.
Yeah, well,
Her.
after, I mean, that's who I thought it was. When she mentioned
you
spy,
thought that right away.
I thought that right away because I'm like, why else would they show this person? I mean, yeah, I guess it could be anybody else, but I just felt like she said, I need to use your spy or whatever on Tycho Station. I was like, boom, that's got to be the guy.
I thought it was a Martian spy, right? Because we have the whole they took a Martian ship.
Okay.
Maybe someone saw it come in, and that's the dude who's like working for the Martians, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna send this over to Mars so that they know what's going on."
I had a totally out of left field idea. I'm like, maybe it's Johnson. Is
Johnson
her spy.
taking pictures
At
of them.
first, I thought
No,
that.
not
Oh,
taking
he's-
pictures.
he's
That
their
he's
spy.
her spy.
Okay,
Johnson-
It could've
That's
been.
totally
Yeah.
kind of like, probably
You know
not.
what?
But I was
He-
like, maybe.
He did work for the UN before for
Yeah.
10 years or so, right?
And
Or
I
10
mean,
years
he
ago.
could still be OPA and then, or secretly, or he's a double agent with her.
I had a moment where I thought the same thing, especially because they were kind of throwing his name around. But then I was like, no, it can't be, because I think the whole point was to spy on Fred Johnson, kind of.
Yes.
Or anything that seemed kind of out of the ordinary, which, I mean, the arrival of the Rocinante would have been out of the ordinary.
Yep.
So we have Avasarala on Earth. She's trying to access the spy from Davila.
Yep.
She wants to blackmail him because he doesn't want to give it up right away. And she says something about his son being in jail. Like, hey, don't you just want to help your son? She always spins things like these messed up ways, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, we get a big reveal when she has another conversation with her comrade UN deputy guy, Aaron Wright. He ends up saying like, "Hey, are you sure this is not personal because the OPA killed your son?" Whoa!
And then I love that she's like, yeah, it's personal. And then he's like, oh, okay, no problem.
I respect that.
And
In
actually,
that case, then fine.
yeah, and then earlier we were talking about it, watching it, I thought it was really interesting that she said, I'm going to go get the ice cream. I thought she said, I'm going to go get the ice pick. And I was like, what?
I know. All of a
But I'm
sudden-
like, she's violent, maybe. Sure,
She's
that's what she
sup-
went to do.
She likes to stab people in the back.
She also does do her own kind of clandestine torture, so I wouldn't put it past her.
She's not afraid to get her hands dirty.
No, she's not.
Absolutely not. But now we know what her motivation is. So she just doesn't want to protect Earth, like we've been talking about this whole season.
She has a revenge. She's like,
It always comes down to like those personal relationships that motivate the characters,
Yeah.
which is great.
because it like
Well, that probably bigger fire than if it was just like, this is my duty. It was like, no, this is personal.
Well, exactly. I mean, it would be it's understandable if it's like your job and that's your duty and like you have to protect Earth because that's where you live and that's your mission, right? But I feel like there's so many more layers if you add that like personal component. So I think that's really cool that we found that out.
Yep.
And I wonder like what happened. How old was her son? I mean, I would imagine that
how long ago was this?
Yeah,
was this like 1 year ago, 10 years ago?
Is this a fresh wound? Is this like a long-standing kind of vengeance that she has inside her? Like, I think
she could go long term.
Oh yeah,
she'd
be like, it's 10 years ago. I don't care.
She could have it out for a long time. Yeah.
But she's that smart that she probably could do a plan that is that elaborate that takes that long to execute.
She could be. Who knows? What if she's one of the people behind this whole other faction out there?
She could be. I've had that thought too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We know that
maybe.
The life expectancy on Earth is 123 years on average. So she could hold a grudge for a long time.
She could.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The Belters, on the other hand, they're only like, 68, 63 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That one Morgue guy.
It's like 60 something like that. Yeah, not very long.
Yeah, it's very, very short in comparison to Earth. Let's do a special segment to kind of break it up a little bit, and then we'll talk about Miller and the Rockhopper dude.
All right.
Yeah, so special segment is going to be 5 things you guys didn't know about The Expanse. I found these in Leviathan Wakes, the book, which is the first season of The Expanse. So we know that Julie Mao is pretty much the start of the series, really, and she's also the start of the book. What it doesn't tell us in the show is that she's actually in the Scopuli, floating around. Remember, she's floating around in Zero G.
Yeah,
she's doing that for 8 days.
Oh.
Yeah, and by the time she gets out of that locker room that she's in, she has run out of places to put her waste and put her piss, and she's out of water, which we got to see. So she was barely drinking any. She had to like get some like saliva from like the very bottom of her mouth.
I feel like that's missing in the show. I needed to see where they're putting this waste stuff.
Yeah. I know, we haven't seen that yet. How they treat their waste.
You know, that's interesting. Does it float around?
Probably Belters put it out in outer space and don't care.
You know what? They don't actually. They mentioned that on this show.
For, like, you know, they kind of like
they recycle everything.
Oh yeah, they recycle.
You have to at that
and the
point.
bodies too.
Yeah.
That's right. They make the mushroom food so they can eat mushrooms later on, right? So they have to recycle everything, like all the piss, all the crap. Everything has to be recycled, and they have to reuse it 1,000 times because that's all they got. Right? It's like a circle of life on series.
It's like they've used cow pies as fuel in the Old West and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you know,
sure.
Yeah.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Second thing you may not have known is that in the book it's actually described, the weapon or whatever the thing is. We just found out about the weapon from Phoebe Station, right? We were going to talk about that with Miller later on. But it's described as floating mud in the book. That's what Julie Mao sees. And she describes it as floating mud.
That's not very descriptive at all, actually.
No. But it's more descriptive than what we saw, because it looked like this like energy blob. So hearing it as floating mud, I'm like, okay, I can get more like substance out of that now.
Yeah. Well, the question is, is it compact that you would go around it, or is this essentially so big that like you can't breathe because it's like does it make the air dense that it's something you don't you can't ingest anything, or is it just like an object and it expands or something?
I want to say the latter, that it expands, because it looked like one of her crewmates or someone on the ship was getting sucked into it, whatever it was.
That's right.
Thing. Okay.
Right. That's the thing that she was talking about. Yeah.
I was thinking that when we saw the video...
What did you think it was?
I thought it was the video, like when we saw the glowing, so that's why I had a moment. I'm like, we saw it? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that looked more like a giant energy ball of stuff that sucked you in.
Wait a minute.
So it's described differently in the book.
That's like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that like black gooey stuff that if you got sucked into it, that was also an energy kind of thing.
Wait, so in the video of the end, I'm just going to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
That video at the end that Miller shows Shadid,
right,
is that's what's reflecting off.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I meant. I'm like, it was a blue thing, but that makes sense.
But it is the blue thing, right? It's the blue thing
I
that's
think
in the.
That's it. It makes
Maybe
sense.
it just looks cooler for TV to have it be like an energy thing.
Do they describe it in the book?
They don't say blue. They just say floating mud.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's
Mud,
it.
I would generally go with brown or reddish.
I would, but now because I have like the TV and the book like melded together in my mind,
Yeah.
I feel like
You're thinking of it as blue.
I'm thinking of it as blue. Yes.
When you read it, did you see the characters as the people from the show, or did you try
Yes.
not to?
I do, but
Do they match their descriptions?
I don't think they match. Some of them don't match
Okay.
the descriptions.
Ooh, okay.
Like the Belters, they are. I don't see Naomi as looking as she is. I think Naomi is supposed to be taller than Holden. She's supposed to be like.
She's supposed to be a belter.
She's
so,
a belter.
Yeah.
So she should be taller and more like if he's an earther, right? 'Cause that's where he's from.
Yeah.
He's from Earth. He shouldn't be taller than her. He should be shorter, and he is substantially taller than her. But then again, when it
it's
comes
probably
down to
for
it,
the
it's
actor
budget
and-
costs
yeah,
also.
when it comes down to it, we got to get actors in there to do a
Yeah.
good job.
Yes,
right?
and maybe also it's kind of hard to
yeah.
budget everything if they had to use so much. Like I don't know if they would
Special
use
effects.
special effects or what, or like
No, that'd
camera
that'd be
angles.
casting. They'd just go that, but it's like we
But that
need
would be
them
so
to act.
hard,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Third thing is, I don't think that Julie Mao, when the show starts, is on the Scopuli. I think she's on that phantom ship called the Anubis. They don't say what it is, but in the book, she says she looks at the scopes or the sensors to see the outside of what's outside of her ship that she's on.
Yeah.
And she says she hasn't seen the Scopuli signature anymore. So maybe whoever she got locked up on a different ship, the Anubis. That ship is missing. We haven't seen it yet in the show so far.
And it's the one that Miller has talked about in the. You know,
Yep.
Exactly. Anubis.
the Anubis.
Anubis, yeah.
So that could be a second ship that's been infected by this weapon or whatever it is.
So was she was on the first one though too, right?
She was definitely on the Scopuli.
So
She
what
was
made
chartered.
her switch?
We don't know.
Yeah.
She got taken captive by
Maybe.
whoever was on the
Yeah.
Anubis, and the Anubis had that weapon on it. The OPA probably wanted to intercept it, take the weapon,
Mm-hmm.
use it for their own purposes to maybe get leverage over the UN and the Martians.
Yeah.
Fourth thing that you may not have known is that the drives that everybody uses are called Epstein Drives. I was kind of playing around with the word. I was like, something with E. Like last week. I didn't know what it was. I didn't remember. But it's called Epstein Drives, and that's what delivered the planets in the system to everybody.
Okay.
And it goes sublight speeds. Last thing, the fifth thing, is that the population of the belt it ranges between 50 million to 100 million.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Would you have thought that many people
No.
are in the
No
belt?
way.
Oh
No
my
way.
gosh. So
I thought like a few thousand.
50,000, like,
Yeah.
like at the high end, you know what I
Not
mean?
in the millions.
no
yeah,
way.
it's in the millions. It doesn't seem like that.
Well, then again, the apartment sequence where they were showing all the apartment complexes, maybe if you have multiple spots that are that densely populated.
And we're only on one station
Yeah.
series, right?
Yes.
But there's probably like maybe
and there could be,
multiple.
and then the slums areas had more
More
people
people.
packed in there
Yeah.
too.
More people.
No, so like
closer.
levels that they talk about,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in the lower levels and blah blah. We
Yeah.
like
the lower levels are like where the people are that they don't. They're poor pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They have to live in closer quarters.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about Miller.
Yeah.
oh Miller.
lot
He
happened.
literally hit rock bottom for this one almost.
He did. But it wasn't because of his fault. He didn't
No.
want to hit rock bottom. He just got beat to high hell.
Yep. Poor guy.
And we know it was Dawes now who
Yeah.
pulled those goons on him, and they shocked him and brought him in there, and they were searching him.
Yeah.
So we get to find out what's really happening. Like, we don't quite know, but we know that Dawes wants to be leading Ceres and the belt.
Absolutely.
He wants to be the governor. But then from another perspective, from Miller's perspective, he says, "Oh, but you just want to fatten your wallet." And Dawes retorts with, "Oh, you're just thinking like an earther. It's not about that. It's not about making money. But then what is it really about? Like, we still don't quite know."
Power.
I think it's
Power.
just there's no place that's really like truly belter territory. I feel like even though they're in the belt, Ceres is still run, you
Yeah.
know, by Star Helix, which is a human-run organization.
An earther
Human
run
run?
organization.
Sorry, I meant an earther run, yeah, an earther organization. There
Yeah.
we go. Oh wow, that was hard. So I feel like there's no place that's truly controlled by the belters, and I think all he wants to do is really take it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. He does what he thinks is necessary for his brothers and sisters, his fellow belters, children of the
Oh,
belt.
that
BT
story.
Dubs. This guy, he's had 2 scenes already. The thing about the stars in the previous one when he's talking to Miller at the bar.
Right, with the Earthers reaching out beyond the blue sky.
Yeah, and like that thing, which now I can't remember the words, but it was just amazing. And then this scene about like his sister and whatnot, I was like, I don't know. I really enjoy this actor and whatever his little nuggets of awesomeness.
In a weird, sad, dark way, though, it does make sense. Like what he did.
Yeah, he's doing it for what's better for his brothers and sisters.
He's a communist. What's better for the group, not the individual?
That's a really good point. We also get to see that that he reveals that Miller is obviously in love with Julie. It's really out there in the open now. We have them get thrown to the airlock. We have Miller
What's up with them in airlocks?
Gosh. The easy way to get rid of people. Clean, right? No blood.
Yeah,
Yep.
you just suffocate him.
And then thankfully he gets saved.
Well, bam.
And who did we think? We thought it was going to be Havelock at first, right?
Yeah.
I
His
was
partner?
Yes, who I also called Jay, but it's Havelock. I probably
Jay Hernandez.
I was like, it's either Jay, it's Jay, and he's like, you mean Havelock? I'm like,
Yes.
That
Havelock.
guy.
Havelock.
He needs to be in this more.
But I mean, it would have surprised me though because literally he got
he got impaled.
He got impaled.
Yeah.
So
He's still in
that's
the
hard.
hospital.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You know
what,
But I did think it was Octavia. If it wasn't Havelock, it was Octavia.
Now the question is, how did she find him? So has she been following him?
She could have been following him.
Yeah, keeping
Right.
tabs on him.
Her heart calls to him still.
Yes.
I guess so.
She knows when he's in danger.
Oh my gosh.
But as we're watching, it's like 2 bullets just go through these dunes, and I'm like, oh yes.
Yes, thank goodness.
yeah.
And you know what? That worked out for a better dynamic, having the former lover saving another.
Yes.
Right? Instead of like a partner who he barely knows.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I was just like,
No, it's good.
know.
But it's good too when they get their little intimate moment later that he doesn't quite forcefully do it, but he's like, nope,
Yeah.
stop. Like, we're
just-
not
But
going there.
Seriously, how? I mean,
She's like,
let's be real. They were having a moment. She was like I guess they were about to like kiss or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
His mind is so 100% deadlocked on that Julie Mao situation that he's like, hold up, and goes get the chip. I feel like, anybody in that situation would be like, let's do this first, and then I'll get the...
Then they'll get the
nah,
data
he's
card.
done. He has a new girl.
He's just one-track mind
Yeah.
at this
He is.
point.
So yeah, that's right. I didn't think about it like that. I thought like, okay, they've had a past and he can't do this right now. That's what I feel like. Like, and then he is focused. He's focused on solving
He's also
the
a
problem.
very smart character.
He is. He's great. And it's a good thing he has personal connections like Octavia because
Yeah.
she saved his ass.
Yes.
And she was going to throw up over it because that was
Poor
the first
girl.
person
Yeah.
she's ever killed.
People. Not just one. Not
2
one
people.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
2 for 1 special
A
here.
brother and sister. I kind of was like, really?
Yeah,
Something-
they-
okay.
That's
sure.
right. They
Yeah.
were brother and sister. That's awful.
Yeah.
If you think about it, but they were hired.
But then they
guns.
don't have to live without the other.
Yeah, that's true. It would have been
But
more
she didn't know
cruel.
who they were. She just knew they were hurting her special person.
Her special person,
Her dude.
her crush.
Yeah.
But then we have Miller tell his story about the first time he killed someone, and he's
Yeah.
only killed 1 person. So every time, like, we've seen him, like, strike people down, beat people up, almost put a guy out in an airlock, he's only killed 1 person before. I feel better about him now.
I've always
smart.
liked him. He's very like I think he just
Smart
likes to
hitter.
intimidate, but not necessarily go
Yeah.
through with it because then you don't have that kind of relationship with these people, And I feel like he does a lot of give and take.
Yeah, he'd probably
can't
have a very different reputation on that system if he was killing lots of people.
Yes.
But according to Dawes, he's like, a weakling.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know?
well, voila.
Yes, a well-walla, but also like a softie and like a person who like I think people aren't really taking seriously at this point.
He's not.
But that's to his advantage in a way.
Yeah, it is.
He's not on the belter side, which he should be because he is a belter. He was grown up. He grew up in the belt, right? We could see on his neck he had those injections that he needed to grow bigger.
Yeah.
But I liked how we got to see Dawes' perspective as well, and how he wants to, like, the whole thing about his sister having chalk bones. That's so terrible, like so brittle, just easily broken. Yeah, was there anything else on them? Oh, we did have the data card, and Miller brings it to Captain Shadid.
Yes.
Oh, that scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
Honestly, I was not expecting that but it just goes to show that like some people are just there, I guess, for the highest price, maybe.
Yes.
And I don't know if Shadid, because I don't think they went over this, if she was an Earther or if she was a Belter, but she's on the Belter side now.
I just, as soon as she picked it up and was like, "Have you told anyone about this?"
You're like, she's gonna.
And I was just like this. I'm like, she's gonna break it. She's gonna break it. But I'm like,
instead-
oh, she kept it in the safe. But still, does anyone know about this? Is there a copy? Are there copies? Oh, good. Okay, let me put that away, and you're fired.
Yeah, because
yeah.
that gets into their plans
Yeah.
in some way.
Then he breaks her little air, like,
He's like, I'm tired of
incense
smelling
thing.
this.
her scent giver or whatever
Yes.
it is, right? Which is
Her weird incense.
Yeah,
I thought it was like a humidifier at first, but I'm like, but then that's wasting water, so it's probably like incense.
Yeah, it is. They go over that in the book, and they are scent givers because the recycled air. I think we talked about this
Yeah,
before.
we talked about it.
So everybody wants to have like their own smell in their place, like in their own quarters or whatever. So that's her thing.
So you could have warm bakery.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I'm just.
I was gonna say that'd be lovely.
That would
You know-
be amazing.
I think you'd be hungry all the time, though.
Yeah.
That's funny that you say
I
that
would be.
because Miller, his ex-wife in the book, he says his ex-wife had warm bakery bread scent in their place all the time, and he hated it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Rockhopper really quick before we wrap up. So we get to meet this guy named Uncle Mateo and his little nephew Diogo, who is from Siri Station. I think he was the water
He
stealer.
was a water snatcher.
Yeah. So
I'm glad they said that, because visually, through a helmet, I was like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, but we got to see his curly hair, so I kind of remembered that
Oh, when he took his helmet off.
a little bit. And they're mining the asteroid. Lo Diogo makes a little foul up, and the net is kind of coming loose, maybe, or it's an old net.
I like his argument. It's old.
He's old.
Yeah.
It won't hold.
Just like you, Uncle Mateo.
Yes.
I liked how they threw around a lot of like banter, like they were saying like boss man and what else? They were saying some other things like shebang, like stuff like that, right? All these
Yeah.
banter
Yeah, they had a
words.
couple
Yeah.
random words in that one.
Yeah, and then we have the Martians in the Scipio Africanus board their ship. Why did they board it? I don't even think there was a good reason.
I felt they were just harassing them. They're like cops who just pulled someone over because they're bored.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I got, because I was like, I didn't think what they were doing was illegal, and they weren't really, I think they were just bored.
Yeah.
They wanted to harass somebody.
I mean, he had something expired. I think
But you
his,
wouldn't
like,
know until
licenses-
you got on there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of maybe like a stroke
Cop
of luck.
pulling you
I don't
over
know.
for expired plates.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what it was
Yeah.
kind of analogous to.
Yeah.
So they found out that their registration or their transponder was expired.
Yeah.
Right? The same thing that the Rocinante changed. So they grab some alcohol right before they're leaving, and the Martian gets even more pissed, and he says, you know what? You're not going to be able to go through the restricted zone now, because I'm not going to go easy on you anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, we can't
Uncle
get around.
Mateo, the alcoholic's like, you can't take my booze.
No.
Starts a fight.
He starts a fight. And later on, he's listening to that one guy on the radio, on the broadcast, right? That one guy, the Belter inciting guy.
Yes, the inciter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's like everywhere. He's like the voice of Belters, like the
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, he's like talking about how they need to rise up, and
He just needs to shut up, though.
he just needs to shut up.
Even if I was a supporter, I'd be like, oh, you're so annoying.
And it's like, hey, I know what I gotta do, man.
I got it.
It's okay.
He's a broken record.
So
and then
you like
It creates like, I feel like I'm there, so I enjoy him.
Okay.
I enjoy him.
it really does feel like we're like listening to like CNN or some kind
Yeah,
of major broadcasting
some
thing,
news.
replaying stuff over and over again. You know, really gets in your head. And really, this is only like, it feels, obviously because we've been watching it for weeks, it feels like a long time. But in their case, it's probably only been a few days, right? And all
Sure,
this stuff
yeah.
is unfolding.
Yeah, they haven't really had a timeline, and especially it's outer space. They don't really have a sense of like we don't have a sense of like
time. Days.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
sunset, sundown, kind of.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No, we don't know. And I want to say it's probably been a week for them in their time, at the very most.
I do feel it is very condensed, and because it has been like they've had no break.
No.
You know, everyone's like constantly on the
Constant
go.
struggle. We have Uncle Mateo eject Diogo out the airlock. I thought he was going to kill him at first, but I was like, wait a second.
Me
he's
too,
not.
but no.
Yeah, he actually wants to save him, which is the total opposite of what Diogo thought.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
what?
Jim was like, please,
he's like,
it's okay, I have give me another shot or whatever.
he's like, someone's gonna pick you up.
oh, when
Yeah.
he said
What?
that, I'm like, Right, because space is so easily
You're just gonna hang out there.
traveled and trafficked in this area. It's very highly populated.
Yeah.
No.
And how long could his air last? Probably a
That
few
too.
hours? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's like good luck.
No.
But I mean, between, death, which is possibly what happened.
Yeah, certain death.
Yes. And
No thanks.
maybe a couple hours just looking at the pretty vastness of space. Yeah.
I think I'd choose like the vastness of space over immediate death by a Martian Navy cruiser.
It's they've had that in another in a movie where it's like, do you want to commit suicide right now because you don't know what's going to happen, or should you wait? And then it's you should have waited
Yeah.
because maybe
Always wait. Always wait.
because it's like somebody's going to come back. It's going to come by.
Yeah.
But
It's like in The Martian, so
that's true.
you always wait. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
So we know that Uncle Mateo wanted to suicide himself. He throws all the asteroids on the on velocity to kill the Martian ship. The Martian ship totally dodges. Did it look like it dodged you?
There was some sort of explosion at the end,
yeah, it was interesting because I couldn't quite tell if because I first thought like the asteroids were going and then his ship was going. So
Right. I feel like his ship got destroyed.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we really don't know. Oh man,
It would be
so
very
much.
strange if he would have,
If he would have survived the Martian.
or he
Yeah.
would have been victorious.
But maybe they survived and they'll pick up the kid.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But I'll tell you what we gotta do.
Or
Oh,
gotta do
go
our
ahead.
predictions.
We gotta do our predictions. Yes.
do real quick.
Yes. We gotta wrap.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I guess since I started saying it, I was gonna say I thought Diogo. We said right.
Diogo.
He might be picked up by our other team of heroes going through outer space right now of Holden and his people.
Oh, that's
Maybe.
an interesting point. Yeah. It's
They're the
Oh.
only other group we know who's going to be going through space
Oh.
soon. So maybe they pick him up. I don't know what will come of that, but
It's
maybe.
just so hard to tell what area we're in because
Oh
space
yes,
is so
there's no sense of a
large.
map.
Okay, I think I know because they were talking about Eros, which is where the guy was supposed to go back to. They're mining asteroids. Eros is an asteroid near Mars. The belt is closer to Saturn, so I think they're kind of the opposite way. I don't know, but
We don't
Phoebe
know.
Station, where they're supposed to go to find the Anubis or the Scopuli, so the Anubis
Yeah.
is actually closer to Phoebe Station. And that's
need to
closer
draw
to
a map.
and that's closer to Mars. So maybe they would find Diogo out there.
Possible.
Maria?
I think that Lionel.
Yes.
Yes, is that okay? Now
Lionel
I'm like,
Polanski.
Yeah, Polanski is gonna be Julie Mao.
Yep.
Or, because if I said someone else, but yeah, Julie Mao, I feel like that's going to be an interesting twist because they're going to be like, wait a minute, we're looking for a guy, and then it's going to
Sure.
be Julie Mao. And I also think that, like I said before, I think Fred Johnson has a little bit more of an agenda than we're seeing right now. They said something about the UN Security Council, and I think he wants to, again, take a little bit of control. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure of what areas yet, but possibly just take control of everything. He seems like a
Very strategically minded
yes,
guy.
and like we were saying before, kind of a little bit like a dictator. So I don't think
Maybe.
it's just about what he seems right now. He clearly worked his way around that, Mormon representative. So I think he's a manipulator.
yeah.
And I think there's going to be showdown between Avasarala and Fred Johnson in some way, shape, or form.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they're gonna.
They're going to butt heads.
but-
Yeah, not
Yeah,
just, but I'm like
For the iTunes listeners.
for the iTunes listeners, my thing was butt heads, but like obviously not them, but they're gonna be controlling whatever manpower goes to do this headbutting of sorts in space.
All right.
I think that the OPA is making the stealth ships, but as we know, the OPA is kind of fractured a little bit. They're not like really solid. Like Anderson
Yeah,
Dawes.
they're not super unified.
I feel like Anderson Dawes represents one portion of them and that wants to take series in the belt.
Yep.
And I feel like we have Anderson
Johnson.
Fred Johnson.
Anderson Johnson and
I'm mixing them again.
Woo!
So then we have Fred Johnson, who probably has some kind of vendetta against the Mars Navy and against the UN. So maybe he's building the ships and he's got the technology. He
does?
Yeah.
He has tons and tons and tons of materials to make other ships.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Right?
does.
I think we're gonna see the spy in Tycho Station next time, which we saw in the teaser. He's actually gonna be on the Rocinante, so I'm proving wrong
Yeah,
there.
so
And I feel like we'll see Miller go rogue next time because he has no authority anymore as a Star Helix officer.
About time.
And then he's gonna recruit Havelock, or well, Octavia maybe. Maybe she'll
Both of them.
go
Yeah.
on. You know, maybe both.
He
You'll
needs
finally tell
two
them what's
people.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like it.
Yes.
It's good
And then I'm
predictions.
hoping for a real shipping of Amos and Naomi. Just saying. If someone could give me that, it would be nice. Even if it's just like in my head.
Fan fiction.
Fan fiction. The shipping of Amos and Naomi.
Naomios. Naomis. Ooh, like the Anubis.
Anubis.
Well, I think that we're gonna wrap up now. Yes, there we
Yeah.
go. There's the music. I think that about does it for us here at AfterBuzz TV's after show for The Expanse. Be sure to check us out next week where we're going to be talking about episode 7. And until then, you guys can follow me at Sean Austin O on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to check out my book City of Angels and Discontent on Amazon and the iBookstore.
You can find me online for it. I cannot talk right now. Twitter and Instagram at Kari D Lane and Facebook at Kari Lane Actor.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MGCVSST. Smoky outro.
Thanks so much, guys, and we'll buzz with you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.